Welcome back to another episode of War Selection Free For All, and in this fight, I get my vengeance, but also I'm completely annoyed. So, welcome back. So I see there's a large number of people, and luckily everyone stays and fights to the end, for the most part at least. But someone, I'm looking at orange. Comes over, Fire Master. He's over here, and he decides to kill my scout. Now, if you've been in this channel for a long time, you know what happens when people kill my scout. You become at the basically you're put at the very top of my shit list. And you're gonna see I stop at nothing. Nothing stops me in my effort to kill orange, and you're gonna see that. So you see, look at that. I think we missed it, but look, he types in chat. He says, "I said, hey, fire." He question marks. I don't think you know what you just did. He says, "Your scout. People die in war." I said, "Yep." Yeah, I don't think you know who you're playing against. And he says, "No, I don't. That would be pretty weird if I did." And that's the perfect time for some product placement. But unfortunately, I was too busy plotting my revenge. So immediately I start building up. Now I have a little bit of hard time of wood. Again, this is another map where I have basically no resources, but luckily I have a little bit more than I did before. I had stone mine nearby and all these trees. I do come up here and gather these. But anyway, I start gathering up, building up my army, because my plan was just to do mass warriors, or sorry, not mass spearmen, and then Asian harems, and go straight for the temple. And again, he says, I can't tell you're going to attack spam me sending in scouts. I'm like, so I had sent in another scout to see what happened, to see the effects, to see how far he built. And he had this nice little garrison troop, so there's nothing I'm afraid of. And then he goes and tries to build a wall. Again, this is a very stupid decision of him because he has no resources he doesn't have enough resources to build that wall. But anyway, I go in, I start, getting my army ready. And when I noticed he was building a wall, I immediately sent in my spearmen and my hand rams and went to attack. And luckily, despite losing far more spearmen than he did, I had weight of numbers. And I sent my hand rams in, and I went straight for the temple. He barely had any defenses. And I said, vengeance for my scout. Now I almost got him killed here, but he sent all his workers, as well as he sent all these spearmen, or sorry, all his units to repair. So you see he had some troops here repairing, and I kept trying to kill them with my scouts. Or sorry, not my scouts, my spearmen. But he just all of a sudden just he takes all his workers and starts repairing even more because I kept killing them, his workers. Constantly, I'm constantly just killing his workers, and he somehow gets it, far enough. But luckily, the last moment, where right when all my spearmen die, or most of my spearmen die, I still have my hand rams, and finally finish him off. Now, had he went straight for the hand rams only, yeah, there was no chance I would have won. But I probably would have just screwed up his entire economy. Unfortunately, at the same time, I screwed up my economy because I had to rely on using these, small patches of trees everywhere and these stone deposits. It wasn't good. Meanwhile, these guys are off doing their own thing. Looks like red and purple are fighting. Oh, ignore that. Oh yeah, so yeah, so Light Blue is apparently new to the game, and he didn't know how to play, and as you could see, yeah, there was no way he was going to survive. He went straight. Look how many houses he built. You would go. That's over like 30K and just if you fully upgrade all that to industrial, that's like 30K right there. Yeah, he goes in. Now I had actually planned to attack at the same time, because I knew that he was busy attacking, but I had waited a little bit too long because I wanted to wait for my units to come, my workers to come, so I could secure the area. Plus I wanted to get my army up more. And he's still attacking here. He goes in, should finish it. But unfortunately, so this is what happened. So I sent it into his territory, and he saw it, and he immediately pulled back. Had I went straight in, I could have done a lot more damage. But I had pulled back because I wanted to wait for more soldiers to show up. And you see, I sent in my Ashigarus. And I thought that I could just finish, like, my Ashigarus would be able to kill his units, but yeah, I was very, very wrong. These were heavy European spearmen versus my Ashigarus, which European spearmen will always beat medieval units, medieval Asian units. So instead of doing some random stuff, I decided to, you know what? I'm going to just like go straight in with what I have, and I managed to destroy one house, which one house was nothing. But then I have a new plan. So I knew for a fact that all his resources were dwindling. So he had to expand out. If he didn't expand, he wouldn't be able to have the resources. I looked over. This is his last tree line. He had one stone deposit, one metal deposit. That was it. That was all he had. So I thought to myself, if I just build tons of horsemen and just Ashigarus and just constantly launch raids at him, and only target his workers like his stone workers and materials, he wouldn't be able to build up an army and age up. And my plan is actually very effective in this. So he comes over here and he does take some workers. But luckily I know about that. But before that happens, I get my cavalry that I need up. Should have been more stable, but my food economy was crashing despite the fact that I had tons of well, I didn't have enough fishing boats. I think I should have gotten more. But anyway, I take my Ashigarus and my samurai, and I go in and I try to destroy as much as possible. Meanwhile, I take my horsemen and go straight in, and I started killing all his workers because I knew he had no more materials, and this was his only way of getting materials. And so if I can cut his supply of materials, especially since he went Europe, which requires a lot of materials, I could definitely win this fight. So you see, I immediately killed all of his material workers. He had nothing left. And look, he didn't even have any more metal left too, because the only deposits he had was this one and then this one, but I managed to keep him away from this deposit. Now he managed to, he tries to go for the deposit. When I immediately attack, just kill his workers, and I just constantly launch raid after raid after raid. Meanwhile, this was going on. Purple was sieging in red, but luckily red was kind of smart at the same time, kind of dumb. But hey, who cares? I had a bunch of horse archers. I should have got the archery upgrade and then got the sharpened tips so that way I could do more damage. Again, he tries to go out, but he can't. Now, he does get this metal deposit, which I don't know that he does until much later. But at the same time, I started launching constant raids, trying to destroy his houses, trying to destroy his eco. Because I know that if he can constantly if he constantly wastes his materials on constantly getting more and more population, like rebuilding his houses or getting more soldiers, he won't be able to do both. Like, he had to decide, he either had a choice. He either get more population to get more workers, or get population to get some soldiers. And he was trying to build squad and militiamen, which wasn't going to help him in this situation. And actually, let's check real quick about it of his economy. So yeah, look, this really did take a hit on him. He had no metal. He had a lot of food, which I didn't know he had a lot of food. But his materials was just hitting so hard. He only had this stone deposit, and once it ran out, that was it. He lost. There was nothing else this guy could have done. Meanwhile, my materials was actually just popping. My food, unfortunately, was hurting a lot, and my metal wasn't hurting too bad because I wasn't wasting as much. But I had planned actually to go Turkey, but then I had this, this huge amount of water, and also at the same time I wanted to. But I'm sorry. At the same time, we were so close to each other, so I thought, you know what, it's probably best to go Asia, East Asia, get the water, get the food, and get the units associated with it. So I had planned again. If you wanted to see Turkey, I'm sorry. I'll probably do another video, but not this time. But anyway, I had got mountain guardsmen, and I started just running circles around his squads. And this guy would not break at all. Now, look at this. He tries to go over here. He does sneak over here, but at this point, it's kind of too late for him because I take some soldiers and actually, kamikaze them into these into the squads because the squads were giving me a lot of pain. Again, he tries to go out and, gather some. I don't do anything about it because at this point it's kind of too late for him. He's still in East Asia. He's not even, he's probably not even in yeah, it was, he quits. He probably wasn't even in late medieval. Or actually, no, he had squad. He probably was actually. He can still get squad in the first one. Whatever, doesn't matter. So I go in. I just send in my cavalry and other units to try to destroy everything else. Destroy the structures and claim the land as my own. Eventually pull them back because these mountain guardsmen are not good at destroying structures at all. So I was like, yeah, this isn't worth it. And so I decided, you know what? There are no more threats near me. Let's just build up the economy, build up my play a bit of SimCity, and clear out these the smaller outposts, enemy outposts that were around. Just clearing it up so that way my workers can come and claim the land, kill all the wild animals, etc., etc., etc. And that's how it's going to be for a long time. So we're mainly going to focus on these. Like, this guy, this guy is industrial. Red can do nothing. But I do attack my mounted guardsmen. Why I waited and just, fought and just kept going. And I started trying to, my next target was a sphere. Now I had actually, okay, so I'd actually come when Red was dying. He said GG. I said I'm coming, and then I said no, he's dead. So I was like, I said he was nobody, but I still cared, and it was true. I really did not care about him, but at the same time, I wanted him to be a buffer towards purple because purple I knew was going to be my largest threat. So I immediately come in with my mounted guardsmen. I start killing all of his workers. Look at this, amazing! Just killing all of his workers here. Basically, his entire economy. Like, all his workers are just dead. It's basically his entire economy. And also, I said, hey, blue, purple has light tanks. Because I was hoping that he would be a buffer. He says, hey, buddy, I'm I'm barely alive right now. Kind of my fault because I just have wiped his economy, but oh well. So, I took my Mount Guardsman. I just immediately basically just wiped this guy. He had Like this guy's economy, like both of their economies are basically in shambles. Maybe blue is a little bit better, but still nothing in comparison to what I just did to purple. So I start, building up my army. And I don't attack until IR2. I do launch cons. I do launch more like non-guardsman raids. But nothing too much. And see, there's another raid. And then I send all my militiamen, or actually slow down. Oh, wow. Oh well. My militiamen just tore through these guys. It was like no contest. I had militiamen, soldiers. I was like, you know what? This guy has to die. Oh yeah, also when he says buddy I'm buried alive, I tell him, well, quit being not alive and get prepared. He says I'm so bad at this game. He's not that bad. He's actually doing better than most. But it's funny, like whenever I said just like hey, quit being dead. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. Someone just tell them, just quit being dead, and then they might pick up their act. Anyway, I took my militiamen. I kept trying to hammer this guy down until he finally quits. Purple then goes in for the attack, but at the same time, I take my militiamen and my soldiers, and I go in my own attack. But I start clearing the way out a little bit more, so that way I can have like a non-contested area, so they're not constantly shooting and moving at the same time, and I can just have a clear path directly towards purple. Now I do get the wonder. I do break this rule, but only because the only reason I got the wonder was because I had a lot of resources, so I wasn't worried. Like a lot, as you see, my economy is just exploding. But because I didn't want him to get the wonder before me. I was scared that if he just sat in a corner and as he was already arming himself up with towers. I thought he would just eventually get the wonder. But of course, this happens. Like I just throw units into him. Now he does constantly send his light tanks back in like the range of his towers, which is pretty damn smart of him. And I knew he was trying to do that, but I really did not care. I just kept saying wave after wave of units at him. So basically, I made this guy say, okay, you can, I'm going to constantly attack you, but if you don't push, you're going to lose. And he does get a little bit smart, because he gets battleships. Now, I destroyed one of his docks before with some fishing boats and stuff, but he tries to get battleships, try to destroy my wonder from the coast, and you see, it is technically in range if you could see it, but at the same time, I got some steamships and filled them with tanks and soldiers. And also, I started preparing an ambush here. Now, this was supposed to be an ambush. I was hoping to get his tanks further in so that way he would attack. But instead, he started getting tons of battleships because I think he thought that he could bombard me from the coast, which would have worked had he had more battleships and had he had vision. But he wouldn't have been able to have any vision. So I was like, you know what? I have an idea. So, he sends in another battleship, which I'm not too scared about because I have fishing boats on standby. But I launch my attack simultaneously. I made a simultaneous attack where I attacked with my ground units against purple. At the same time, I landed right next to him with 2 steamboats filled with soldiers. 50 soldiers in one. And then, 3 FTs and then another 3 light tanks, and I immediately just landed on his shore. And my plan was not to go straight for. Well, it was planned. My plan was to go straight for the temple at first, but then I decided to change my mind, just to destroy all his stuff, so in hopes that he would quit. But I do eventually go straight for the temple when he starts bringing in the light tank and stuff. So then I just take my soldiers, and start wreaking havoc on this guy. He immediately notices and tries to pull back his light tanks. But by then it's gonna be too late. So at this point I start focusing his temple, his city hall, and I know he starts bringing his light tanks. And I notice I'm like, oh crap, I don't want to lose my light tanks, so I just pull them back and let my soldiers basically kamikaze into this guy's tanks. But he quit. He said GG. And it really was the end for him. There was no way he would have won. It was a good attempt for him to try and attack, via sea. But there was no way he could survive two simultaneous attacks. He either, if he did sacrifice his rear, he's not only sacrificed his economy, his production, and his temple. So he was forced to pull back when I landed. But if he pulled back, he basically sacrificed his entire front line. So if another attack came, there would be no saving him at that point. So he really was stuck between a rock and a hard place. There was nothing he could have done in this situation unless he had prepared a fleet to prevent my landing. But there was no hope for him. He couldn't do anything. He would have died either way in the end. But yeah, that has been my video. Leave a like, comment, and I will see you all next time.